good.
Hi, my name is Sierra. These are my audience members.
Hi, I'm Hugo.
Hi, I'm Keisha.
Okay. So, according to CNN, 73% of Americans will celebrate Halloween or participate in Halloween activities this year, with 60% of those consumers planning to give out candy and 51% of those planning to decorate their homes. Halloween was a mere 9 days ago, and it's a time when children dress up in costumes of their favorite characters and go door to door for candy. Adults will walk with said children and give out candy from their houses. They may also host parties with various Halloween activities such as bobbing for apples, storytelling, costume contest. Many people celebrate this holiday, but not many know the history behind the ancient festival. Halloween actually started as a Celtic festival that originated around 2,000 years ago, with a variation of our current traditions eventually joining the holiday. I know that we celebrated Halloween together, so I thought that it would be interesting to dive deeper into the history behind it together. Halloween originally started with the Celtics. The Celts were a tribe that lived in the region of land that we now call Ireland, the UK, as well as like northern France, so it's kind of like a mixture of those areas. The Celts believed that on October 31st, the dead and living dimensions of sorts like overlapped, which allowed the dead to come back briefly to visit. October 31st also symbolized the end of their year or summer, and meant that the winter season was rapidly approaching, which was very highly associated with things like hardship and death. They called their festival Samhain. On this day, they would build extensive bonfires to burn food as well as sacrifice animals to please their gods. While gathering around this bonfire, the Celts would also be dressed in costumes, but not at all like the costumes we wear today. Rather, their costumes consisted more of like animal skins or animal heads. And then once their celebration was over, they would relight the bonfires as they believed it would help them survive the rapidly approaching winter. Later, the Romans would come to conquer most of the Celtic lands, and two other Roman festivals mixed with the Celts festival, Samhain. The first Roman festival was Feralia, which celebrated the dead, and then the second festival was one that was meant to give thanks to their goddess in charge of trees or fruit, which was Pomona. And then eventually Christianity took roots in Celtic areas and blended with traditional Celtic holidays. Then the church officially declared that November 2nd was a day called All Souls Day, which was intended to also celebrate the dead. There were some who speculated that the church declared this holiday as an attempt to kind of replace Samhain Festival with something a bit more church-friendly. According to History.com, this new festival was commemorated in a very similar fashion to the Samhain Festival. People dressed in costumes, those costumes were more like the ones that we have today. And there was parades as well as bonfires still. This holiday was also sometimes called All Hallows Eve, and then the day that used to be Samhain was eventually called All Hallows Eve, and then over time it also became Halloween, which is what we know today. And now that we know some history behind how Halloween came to be, we can look more at the traditions that we now associate very closely with Halloween. So there's the tradition of carving pumpkins. That one's very popular, and that one originally started in Ireland, but it was originally turnips and not pumpkins. So the story behind that is that there was a man named Stingy Jack who kept trapping the devil and then would let him go only if he agreed to not let him into hell. And then eventually when he died, he wasn't let into hell, but he also was not let into heaven. So he was cursed to like roam the earth as a ghost. But the devil did give him a single lit coal, and it was inside of a carved turnip. And then eventually that kind of just led to people leaving carved turnips outside their house to like ward off him and other evil spirits from their homes. And then there's another very, very popular tradition that everyone knows called trick-or-treating. That one originally started in medieval England. They called it souling at the time, and people would go door to door asking for food, and then in return, they would sing them a song or pray for them, And then over time, it became the things like candy and chocolate that we know now. So today we learned about the origin of not only Halloween, but also several popular traditions that are highly associated with the holiday. So the Celts originally started the holiday with their festival called Samhain, and then eventually over time it became All Hallows Eve, and then Halloween that we know and love today. And then we can also thank Stingy Jack for pumpkin carving and medieval England for trick-or-treating. Do either of you have a favorite tradition that you do on Halloween?
Thanks, Stingy Jack. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to scare little kids until they cry.
He's not kidding. You know, because you saw that every Halloween for the last couple years, we've been decorating our front porch for, like make it super spooky. We have a little bit of a corridor, so it makes it a little bit more scary as kids come up and ask for the candy. And Hugo will dress up last year, with a mask and sit there with his like lawn blower. Or like this year, he worked on building the coffin and then, having the candy in there, scaring the kids and saying who's really brave enough to get it.
Yeah, that was great. The coffin was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for listening to my speech.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Very informative.